welcome to the Big Seance podcast. I'm Patrick Keller of BigSeance.com, and this is a place for an open discussion on all things paranormal, but specifically topics like ghosts and hauntings, paranormal research, spirit communication, psychics and mediums, and life after death. So basically, anything that pops up in my paranormal world. The candles are already lit, so you might as well come on in and join the seance.
Hey everybody, today's episode is brought to you by my Patreon. No, seriously, I haven't had an ad on the show in quite a while, and that's okay. I've never had a goal of having ads, but I decided that since some of you might not always listen to the end of the show, you might not even know that I read names of Patreon supporters at the Super Paranerd and Parlor guest levels. So yeah, there is a Patreon for the Big Seance. If you go to patreon.com/Big Seance, you'll see that there are 3 tiers for $1, $2, and $5. I also link the Patreon in the show notes for every episode, so you can find it in your podcast app or on the website. That's it. Now I want to read the bio for today's fabulous guest. So get ready to get your tea poured. Tawney Lewis is a highly experienced paranormal researcher and intuitive medium, known for her extensive list of investigations under her belt, such as the Old Montana State Prison, the Whaley House, and Bracken Fern Manor. In 2021, Tawney had the privilege of co-teaching a course on paranormal research alongside the world-renowned psychic medium and TV personality Lisa Williams. In August of 2022, Tawney received a special invitation to lead a paranormal investigation at Lilydale Assembly in New York, where she captivated an audience of over 80 guests. Her expertise and presence have also earned her TV appearances as a featured guest expert on Tubi's Scariest Places in America and the sequel, Scariest Places in the World. Additionally, Tawney will soon be seen as a lead guest expert this fall on a highly anticipated upcoming CTV Sci Fi show. Currently based in Hollywood, California, you can stay connected with Tawney Lewis on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Intuitive Tawney. A little over a year ago, our friend of the show, Jeffrey Peck, interviewed Tawney Lewis on his show, Something Super Spiritual. And I'll link that show in the show notes. And I immediately knew that I wanted to bug her to also come visit us here in the parlor at the Big Seance. Oh my gosh, welcome to the show, Tawney.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And it's super nice to meet you.
You as well. You are still in LA, right?
Yeah, I live in Hollywood. I can see the Hollywood sign right there.
Stop it. For real, out the window?
Yeah, it's like right there.
I and my husband, we were just there earlier this summer for the first time visiting my sister-in-law and husband and our new nephew.
Oh.
And I've always wanted to at least go to, Hollywood, LA, just to kind of check it out. But I did not expect to, especially the weather, I did not expect to fall in love. Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, I just might stay.
Yeah, it's perfect. I'm born and raised here. I love LA. I love Hollywood. What part did you visit when you were here?
We were in I guess they live in the valley in general.
Okay. Not too far from here. Okay, cool. Yes, right over the mountain.
Yeah, but we did go see, the Hollywood sign and lots of, when we saw Malibu Pier.
Beautiful.
Yeah, Beverly Hills. I mean, come on. So that was like heaven. And everybody we were around was like, oh God, it's so sad that you're here experiencing all this June gloom. And I was like, girl, please, this is heaven. Bring it.
Love the weather. It's hot right now. It's like 90 degrees, but it's beautiful, like clear skies right now. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, you consider yourself a paranormal investigator first, don't you?
I do. I always, so I'm an intuitive and a paranormal researcher, but I always tell people the paranormal aspect comes first, only because I started that first. And, I started that I lost count, like over 12 years ago. And I was always fascinated with anything paranormal. It was a passion. And then after a while, I joined a team and learned about the tools and how to actually do it. And so this is something that literally I understood it. And then the intuitive psychic mediumship didn't pop in until like 5 or 6 years ago. And, but it's been cool because it's almost like an added tool to my repertoire as a researcher.
Well, and when you immerse yourself in it and open yourself up to it, I think all kinds of things can happen.
Yep.
Sounds to me like you and I jumped into paranormal investigation about the same time. When I jumped in 2010, I used to be embarrassed to admit that part of the inspiration and reasoning behind it was the show Ghost Hunters, which really kind of started it all, in my opinion. But the truth is, there's basically a whole generation of investigators from the same time period that are only out there investigating because of what they saw on TV.
Agreed.
And I followed that up with a lot of research and reading and things, but I'm no longer embarrassed to say that Ghost Hunters inspired me. And you yourself were inspired by watching Ghost Adventures, weren't you?
I had a massive crush on Zak Bagans. I don't know what I was thinking. No, I was obsessed with Ghost Adventures. I watched all the time. It was just a fascinating show. And I actually did like his style. And I still do. I respect Zak so much. Like, I would love to meet him. However, just like the last year or so, I've noticed that's become very a little aggressive towards the spirits. And as I've developed into my own type of researcher investigator, I have a way of doing things where I try not to go too evil or dark. Like, if I know a place is full of demons, I'm not going to go look at it. I'm not. If I know a place is full of a dark spirit that pushes people, I'm probably going to avoid that place. And so but I think it's worked for me because I've been doing this for so long that by choosing what kind of researcher I want to be, I've been safe overall. I've never been pushed. I've never been scratched. Nothing's ever cursed me out. I communicate to them. People have to remember, spirits they walked the earth before, they were here. So talk to them like they are people, And so, I brought that up just because of with Ghost Adventures. I think it's such a successful show. But then it started to kind of divert a little bit. But no, and I love Ghost Hunters. I used to watch that show as well. God, there's so many shows now. It's expanded over the last 20 plus years. But
I don't watch a lot of them anymore, only because I feel like I'm kind of numb to the pattern of it, and it's not that they're not doing a good job. And it's not like some people will interpret that to mean that I am bored of the shows because nothing's happening. Well, it's not that, because I don't want them. I want it to be real. And if it's a boring night, I want it to be real. But it's the whole structure and a lot of the kind of pre-produced things that I'm just like, oh my God, can we change it up a little bit?
I 1,000% agree. Because there's a lot of new shows. People, have you seen 28 Days Haunted? I'm like, no. Just because of basically what you just said. It's not any disrespect to those investigators. I'm just used to that. I'm used to the pattern. I'm used to that. I'm like, oh my God, can I just go out there and investigate, please?
Just the way it's produced.
Yes.
From what they think the audience wants. What are some of your favorite moments from Ghost Adventures when you first started watching?
Okay, wait. I'm like, there's so many. Okay, there's one of the first ones, I think. It might have was the first episode where the team was at a Goldfield Hotel. And
I was going to mention that one.
Yeah. And that was the first thing. I was like, what's happening? And I think that's the episode where they were talking to something and then a piece of wood flew. Yeah. And Zak was like, oh my God. And so I was like, okay, that's poltergeist. What is going on? But that's the first one. And then what's another one that, I'm trying to think. There's so many episodes. Lucky Zak. I'm sure he's a millionaire. Let's see. What's my favorite? Oh, he did one in San Diego at the Cosmopolitan Hotel. And that one was interesting to me because I went there and the activity I got was moderate. It was I didn't get a lot, but when he went there, I thought it was interesting to kind of see different parts of the hotel, because when I was there, they only let us in a certain portion of the hotel. But that one was fairly interesting. But yeah, there's tons, but those are the top two that come to mind.
Yeah, I've in those days, I would watch a little bit of Ghost Adventures too. And there's definitely moments that I remember and being like, oh my gosh, I have to go there.
Mm-hmm.
And I do feel like, even though Zak has his moments, I feel like he's maybe, and I haven't watched in a couple years, I'll just be for real about that, but I feel like maybe he's letting up a little bit. I hope he is.
Yeah. Because I think he's great. I think he's a great investigator, and that he's very compelling. Even his enemies, they don't want to admit to it. I'm like, no, he's very compelling. He makes good TV. He's really good TV. But you're right. I'm like, I think he might have lightened up just a little bit. So, but yeah, very successful. And like I said, I was like, I want to meet him. I want to be like him.
Have you met him?
No, yes, I'll explain. So about 5-6 years ago, I went to the Haunted Museum. Have you been there?
I kind of had the opportunity, and I was like, I think I'm going to skip it.
Yeah, we'll get into that. I went there and was in line and was looking for him. I was like, this is when I was completely in love with him. I was like, oh my God, Zak, he's not here. Where is he? I go in the building and they give us kind of the intro, the tour. And as we're exiting to go in the house, he then decides to pop up and says, have fun, everyone. And then he goes away. And I was like,
like he's just in the back reading the paper or something. Yeah.
I was like, what? So yes, no.
I'll count that. That's close enough. That's close enough. So you refer to yourself as an intuitive mostly. What are some of the benefits you would say of having those abilities and also being in paranormal investigation?
I think it's pretty cool because when I do investigations, I like to tell the story of wherever I'm at, wherever location or whoever I feel like we're communicating with as investigators. And so to have all these tools and it's like, okay, I think I'm getting something on my K2 meter. Wait, why is nothing happening? And then I'm able to literally kind of feel into it, because I'm just going to be super honest. You see a lot of shows and there's a medium and that's all they do. That's all they do. They're just a medium. They walk in and they're like, I feel, I see, I hear. And it's like, that's awesome. But
they're almost used as the tool. I feel like sometimes.
And that's fine. But to me, I was like, you know what? Are you trained up on these tools as well? Why don't we, if you are, we can elaborate more on the story. And so in my experience, it's been beyond helpful to where a brief story, which I mentioned before on another show, when I was in Lake Arrowhead, there's a room where they say, oh, it's haunted by this little boy. Everyone's like, he haunts the room. And I was down there with tools. Nothing was happening. Zero. And we sat there for 15, 20, hey, this is weird. And finally, I was like, you know what? Okay, well, where is this kid? And then my intuition's like, he's in this room. And we all go in there and they happen to have tools in there and all the tools are lighting up. And he wasn't there. So that's kind of an example of the intuition, the psychic medium aspect where I'm able to utilize that, because I wouldn't consider myself a psychic medium where I'm I do readings all the time or I charge people. That's not, can I do it? Yes, but it's not my passion. My passion is actually the paranormal and telling those stories. And so that's why I've kind of just said intuitive paranormal researcher and just intertwining that.
Are there downsides to having the ability? In an investigation situation?
That no one has ever asked me that. Thank you. That's a great question. Now you got me thinking now. Okay, let's see. Are there downsides being an intuitive during an investigation? I'm going to say yes for a lot of people. In my experience, somewhat. So being that intuitive, psychic medium, whatever, we are susceptible to energy and a lot of it. And so, for example, I was in Montana State Prison years ago, and I had never done anything as dark as a prison at that time. And at the end of the night, I was feeling sick. And that's not normal. That does not happen to me during investigations. I was like, okay. And I was like, okay, as an intuitive, I'm also an empath. So that is a negative because it did impact me being fully focused, because all I wanted to do was just go. My stomach was hurting. I didn't feel good. And I'm like, I'm at Montana State Prison. I should be excited running around this place trying to get in. And I was like, I'm ready to go home. So that's kind of the worst thing I've ever dealt with. Another thing is when you are with other people, sometimes they see the psychic medium as being the one that can fix everything, or the holy grail, whatever. And I've been on an investigation years ago where someone was pushed and scratched. They deserved it. They were taunting the spirits. And then they were like, I need the psychic to come and hold me and heal me. And seriously. And so luckily there was another one that was there and she went ahead and handled that. But I remember thinking like, okay, is this going to be like how every time when someone's taunting and poking and they're like, oh my God, it hurt me. Please heal me. It's like, no. So
I'm not your therapist.
yeah. I was like, I'm not a therapist and you were the one that was kind of taunting them. So I don't know what to tell you. So I would say those are the top two that come to mind. But again, it's nothing too negative to where, I worry like, oh God, is it bad that I'm an intuitive? No, it's always been more beneficial to me.
I would think that it would be most beneficial to validate things that are coming in through the tools.
Yes.
And I'm fairly skeptic. I'm like down the middle and it drives me nuts and I fight with myself all the time because, I love a good psychic medium. Mm-hmm. I could talk about it all day, but I also am skeptic about some things that come out of psychics' mouths.
Absolutely.
And I would think that if you are feeling something, at least for yourself, for no one else, like you don't have to prove to anybody else, but if you're seeing things happening and you also can validate with feelings, that to me, that would be cool. I'm kind of jealous of that.
Exactly. It feels, and I feel my personal opinion is I think a lot of the paranormal investigators and researchers, I feel like a lot of them are sensitive. I wouldn't say like they're full blown psychic, but I feel like they're sensitive to where you just going wherever you go in a haunted house and you're like, yeah, this feels weird or this room. And it's like a lot of them know that I've met, they deny it. They're like, no. Not sensitive. I'm not. I'm like, I think you are. No, I'm not. But it's been a cool tool. And like you had said, I do prefer the tools. I am trained up on them. I love pulling them out and using them and explaining them to people. But when needed, whenever it is absolutely dire, I can pull out the intuition, which has been great because unfortunately in the community with spirituality, ego can come with it. And there's a lot of psychic mediums that I've met where it's like, the ego is there. And so they go into a haunted house and they're like, what I say and what I get is 100% accurate and you're all going to listen to me. It's like, probably not. And so maybe, because even I'm one where I'm confident, but I'm not going to push it on you. I'm like, I know that there is a man that lives in that room. It's like, I'm feeling that. And I also like bouncing it off other people. I love doing that. Like, what do you feel what did you get on your EVP? Oh, I heard a man's voice. It's like, okay, cool. That's cool. So, it comes with ego. And I always try to keep that in check and remain humble because I do believe it's a gift. And it's being able to do something that I am really passionate about is just awesome.
I love to hear a psychic medium kind of preempt what they're saying with I feel like, yes, or in my opinion, or in my experiences. Because sometimes when it's like, no, this is how it works. And this is how, especially when you hear, one of my favorite things to ask a psychic medium is what happens when we die. And there are like 30 different versions of what really happens when we die. And I'm like, well, they can't all be true.
Yep. It's not all, it's funny. I hear that too. And I feel like I've listened to the ones that actually have. So, for example, I know of one who she died. She died. It was like a near-death experience. And then I noticed just in my career that the ones that have had a near-death was fairly similar. But then you have the ones that have never died or whatever, never had a near-death, and then they're telling you what they think and what they know. And I'm just like, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. So, yeah.
And over the years, I've actually kind of settled on, and again, this is from someone who does not have your abilities, but I have kind of settled on the fact that maybe I kind of feel like everybody, it happens how we expect it, how we want it. Like it's very personalized.
Yep.
I
agree.
And that makes me feel good.
I agree.
How do your abilities work?
Yeah. So I'm a clairvoyant first and foremost. So there's different ways that the psychic gets information. They can either hear it, see it, feel it, or know it. With me in particular, I see. So it means it comes into me like a movie. So it's super simple. So like if I said, Patrick, imagine a waterfall with horses around like that. That's literally how it comes to me. I don't physically see anything. If I did, I would have checked myself into a mental hospital. I've been like, yeah, no, we're not doing this. So I never physically see anything. Thank God. Unfortunately, though, when I was a child, and that's kind of, I should have known at the time there was a gift. When I was a little kid, I actually did see spirit, like in my bedroom. Anyway, so I see like a movie, and then I can also feel. So I feel, like I said, like empathic, where I can feel emotions, or I go into a location, I feel sick, or I'm like, oh, I feel really good, or oh, it's just an emotion that I can come through. clairaudience, which is hearing every so often, not really me. Claircognizance is knowing every so often. So that's how I get the information. And so when I do an investigation, kind of going back to that Lake Arrowhead situation, I felt that was a feeling where I was like, where is this boy? And then I just kind of felt like he's here. I was like, okay, I feel kind of like childlike. And then I could see a bedroom. And that's when I was like, okay. And then that kind of went that way and guided everyone with me over there. But yeah, that's how it comes in. And then I just have to kind of focus, and it naturally falls in. But the good thing about me is I call it off 99% of the time, meaning there are psychic mediums that are like, I see things, I get woken up overnight. I'm just like, I don't do that. So I'm pretty well trained to where I'm able to do my job and live a normal life and, and handle everything. But then when I'm doing an investigation, I'm like, and on.
Yeah.
And then I'm able to go into their focus.
That's good. Well, and I'd also be really curious to hear from you 5-10 years down the line in the future after more experience and see if you work the same or see if your abilities have grown.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do feel the more you work with it and the more you immerse yourself in it, in my geniusness, that's what I think. I would like to know what you can see the freaking Hollywood sign out your window. I'd like to know what some of your favorite spooky or haunted locations are around Hollywood.
Okay. Look, where do I start? Okay, so number one, and the easiest, which please come when you come back to LA, please go, is Hollywood Forever Cemetery. First off,
I wanted to go, but we weren't able to go. I really love that place.
It's awesome. It's so awesome. I even they were investigators. They have a podcast. They are awesome. They were visiting here and I met them down there. They loved it. And so, it's first off, it's beautiful. There's some, clearly nobody wants to be in a cemetery, but that one in particular, it almost has like a park vibe. And there's people that do yoga there. They watch movies there. I don't know. I won't, but they watch movies there. They have a lot of events at that cemetery. There's so many famous people buried. And so you can go there, pay your respects, just kind of check it out, take pictures. But there are areas that are very haunted. There's a few of the mausoleums. When I was with that podcast team, we went in there for a few minutes and did a little spirit box session. So Hollywood Cemetery, awesome, easy access in literally 6 minutes down from where I live. The next place is Silent Movie Theater. That one is on Fairfax in LA. From here, about 10 minutes. And it's an old theater. I want to say it was built in like 1939, 1940. And the interesting thing about that theater is if investigator would go in there thinking like, okay, maybe it's haunted by people from the 40s. But actually, no. There was a murder there about 25 years ago. That owner, oh my God, I investigated that place twice. He is very present. He's very communicative. He's a little aggressive. I had to ask him, can we please go into your office just for, I said 5 minutes. And you can hear on the EVP say, yes, 5 minutes. And we go. And then literally on the spirit box, you hear, you're done. Like, leave. But he was, and so I tell people like, I'm sure maybe he was an asshole in real life. I don't know. But I talked to him like a human. He's like, you got 5 minutes. And he was like, okay, bye. And I was like, okay. I was like, thank you, sir. We're out of here. Okay, bye. And everybody's looking at me like, you were literally talking to him. I was like, that's how you should handle investigation. So that one, Silent Movie Theater, I would recommend. And then another one here, last one. There's a lot of haunted places here. I have not been to investigate the Roosevelt Hotel. That one is down the street from where I am. It's beyond known, infamous hotel. They have a Marilyn Monroe suite. They say that they see her in the mirror, in the hallways. A lot of celebrities stayed there. I went in there just for like a drink one time, but we didn't get to investigate. And a friend of mine, we were kind of planning it. We're like, let's just like get a room here and just see what we get. So I would say those are like the top three, but there's so much more. Hollywood has just so much history.
I was just creeping all up on your Instagram today, and I saw a post, 2 posts, one that you'd made about Marvin Gaye that I had no idea. I can't believe I had no idea about that. But then also Rosewood, Florida.
Yes.
And I don't know, maybe you could pick one or maybe even both and just kind of tell us about that, because I was educated just by your Instagram posts.
Thank you. I'm happy to hear that because I just started, like, when I get a moment, I do TikToks with paranormal, but then I'll throw in a little bit of like Black history paranormal because that's something that, I'm just going to be honest, you don't see on any of the ghost shows. None.
Yep.
And so it's like, hey, you guys, just so you know, not all ghosts are white. So I just made those TikToks to just kind of highlight that. But yeah, so the first one, the Marvin Gaye house. Oh my gosh. He was murdered by his father in the house, I want to say in 1984, I believe. And people have always felt, I don't think they've actually seen him. They just kind of felt uneasy in the house. It's not necessarily that he haunted. It could just be residual energy, just the overall energy. Like that was an intense situation where I think that there was just kind of like a volatile relationship anyway between the whole family. So that's the first one. And then the next one was Rosewood, Florida. So there's actually a movie called Rosewood.
And now I'm going to watch it.
It's a lot. I just want to warn you, I like it, but some people were uncomfortable, but I think it's a great movie. And in Rosewood, Florida, which does not exist anymore, there was a woman who claimed that she was beaten, raped by a Black man. In actuality, she was just cheating on her husband with a man and he beat and raped her or whatever. And so she blamed it on a Black man, and the community lost their mind and went to every single African-American city around. I think Sumner was one of them, and then Rosewood, and killed. I pause because they say, only upwards of like 10 people died, where reality was probably over 100 to 150.
Yeah.
And so what's interesting about Rosewood, Florida is that now it's probably mostly forest. However, there's one house that's still standing there. There's a John Wright house that is still standing. That is the only property still standing in Rosewood, Florida, in addition to a little like plaque that says Rosewood. And so I always wonder if the woods of Rosewood are really, really haunted, or maybe even the John Wright house. And so one of my goals is to be able to go into the John Wright house and investigate it. The woods, without even being there, I can guarantee is full of all sorts of spirits. So yeah, those are just a lot of facts that a lot of people just had no idea about, and they've been kind of like erased from history. And my goal as an investigator is to just kind of bring forth a lot more of these stories across all of America that involve minorities and the things they've been through, and then also potential paranormal activity.
Yeah, and just because of the reality of the history of our country. Mm-hmm. You can only imagine that has probably happened in so many states and locations that we don't even know about
at all.
That kind of event. And so I appreciated being educated on that. And I also, sometimes people have that like too soon kind of thing when you're talking about paranormal investigation. And I love that you're not afraid to take a respectful kind of look at because it's paranormal happens everywhere, but after even the simplest things. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Do you have a favorite ritual or practice?
So before an investigation?
It could be, or anytime.
Yes, it's pretty simple. I am one to, there's a lot of people out there that are like, I don't want anything to follow me. I'm scared. I don't want whatever. And so a tip for anyone actually is to don't put your energy towards that. If you're thinking that, then guess what? It's probably going to happen. I don't give it any attention. To me, it doesn't exist. And again, I communicate to where, in a brief example, was a friend of mine years ago. There was an investigation and we went to the attic and we didn't get any information. We were getting just bits and pieces. And then she came to me later and said, we went back up there and the spirit box, the spirit said he's ready to talk now. And he's ready to come. He wants you guys to come back up there. I said, okay, first off, we control the investigation. Okay. I said, we're not going to go back up there. He thinks he's running things. He's not. And we were up there for an hour and we gave him. So she was taken aback by that. Cause I was like, that's why I have to remind you, these are people. They have the same personality that they have when they're here on the earth, but they're not going to control anything. And when you let them control it, that's when you get issues where it's like, I'm something attached to me, something scratching me, something's hard, whatever.
Yeah.
I just have to bring that up because it's like, it's common. Sorry. So anyway, my ritual to prevent anything harming me is I usually will pray beforehand before I even go into the location. So literally outside, I'll say a prayer, whatever anyone's beliefs are. I don't have to. Some people say, "Oh, what do you say?" And I'm like, actually, it's up to you. Whatever you feel comfortable saying. For me, I say the white light of protection, and I'll say what I'm doing. why I'm going in there, what my intentions are, and what I want when I'm done. And then I do it for everyone that's with me doing the investigation. I go in there, handle it. And then before I actually get in the car, I do a closeout prayer. Say the same thing. What I wanted, what happened, what I need to happen, stay there. And what I need, like basically my energy to be cleansed. And then I go home. And I've been doing that for over 10 years. And again, never had any issues. And so that's why I would stress to people when I do teach paranormal to just don't put your energy towards it and don't think about it. And just stay focused on your intention. There are, unfortunately, there are paranormal investigators that say, I want to be slapped. Yeah, I want to be punched today. I want someone to prove to me that. Just like, oh God. So that's their intention. And so more than likely, they're going to have something negative attached.
It makes me think of, I used to be way more involved in paranormal investigation and slowed down, but I used to kind of do that, particularly before we left. I would do kind of my own cleansing thing. And then after a while, people like me, I spend my whole life begging to have, the whole spirit world contact me and speak and see things. And so it's like, well, the last thing I want to do is cripple that before I even have the chance to have it, right? And so I kind of stopped doing anything like that. Because I figured, nothing's ever bad has happened to me. And so maybe because I don't expect anything bad to happen, I don't have anything to worry about. Well, I've been to a lot of those, dark places and dank places and prisons. But it was after a night of investigating a home, a medium friend of mine brought me in. She said, I need some help. And they've called me in and I would like for you to come. And it was one of the most honest, legit, not looking for attention. It was a mom and dad with 2 young daughters, and they sent the kids off and they were like, look, we're really just kind of concerned and we don't want any attention from this. Let's just see what you can find. Yeah. And I didn't really come away with any feelings that there was necessarily anyone there and went to bed that night. And actually, I think it was 2 nights later and was straight up grabbed in my bed in the middle of the night. And I was like, neat. Okay. You never know. And it was clearly, I hate to attach feelings or negativity or anything to experiences, but it didn't feel good. Ooh. And so that's like the crayest experience I've ever had. And in my mind, I assume and kind of attach it to that home. So I'm like, never know. Maybe a good cleansing would be good. You recently taught a class at Lilydale. You were talking about that before you went when you were talking to Jeffrey. I wonder how that went.
Oh, that's crazy. That was a year ago. It doesn't feel like it. That was so fast. Okay. So that was in August of last year. And it was amazing. So basically in the daytime, I did an actual course where I taught about I put paranormal 101. So the basics of paranormal. I broke down all the different types of spirits. I had someone also do a presentation on all the tools that they had. It was just a great afternoon. And then the evening session, we're doing a paranormal investigation with Tawney at Lilydale. And oh God. So registration online, we had to close because there was 35 people and that was already a lot. But when I got there, they said, oops, we left the registration open. Also, we have walk-ins. Sorry. So I had over 60 people in attendance and just little old me for an investigation at Lilydale. But what was awesome, and I'll always be forever thankful, is that one of my mentors, Lisa Williams, she lives there. And luckily the night before, she's like, I'll be home. Do you want help? I was like, yes. And so she came and didn't try to take it over at all. She just helped me with all of these people because she's done that work for 20 plus years. She knew how to handle crowds. And I'm just so grateful that she was there that night. But yeah, we toured the Lilydale, the forest area. We went over to their stump, which is just a lot of spiritual activity. Everyone was they were so thankful and grateful, and they all talked to me afterwards, and they just really had a good time. And that's all that mattered to me, is that they weren't like, that was dumb, that was boring. And they were like, no, that was actually really cool. They used ghost apps to see if they picked up anything while we were in the woods. But it was a great experience. And I was really, really proud about that. I didn't expect to have that many people show up. just for me. I felt, at the time I was just very, very unknown. And they wanted to work with me. And so it went pretty great.
Cool. It's always been on my bucket list and I've never been, but I feel like from what I know about Lilydale, I don't feel like they've always been open to the more paranormal side.
You're right.
At Lilydale. And so that makes me happy to see them kind of being open to other opportunities like that.
You are right. I want to say within the last maybe 3 years are a little bit more open. I think the year before they had like a paranormal week where they had different types of people come. And I know this year, it's funny because I was going to reapply for this year, but somebody told me not to. I don't know if I'm going to be busy. It was weird. It was like a weird feeling like don't go this year. And I saw that they had paranormal investigators do a presentation there. I'm familiar with who they are. And I was like, oh, wow, they're like hardcore investigators, and they invited them there. So yeah, they're getting a little bit more open. They're actually seeing that that's what people want. And the day I was there last year is a perfect example where I want to say my day class had like 12 people, but the nighttime had over 60. It's like, no, they actually want to do an investigation. They don't want to learn about it. They just want to see a ghost. And so they're realizing that they probably made a great profit off of me. And so I think in the coming years, they're going to probably do it a little bit more.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on paranormal tourism?
I mean, I was going to say easily like, oh, I support it because I love to see all sorts of places, even if they're almost about to fall down. Right. I think it's fascinating. However, I understand that there are places where literally I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it. Like, this is the first thing that came to mind. Like, for example, I have actually seen posts with investigators saying, I wonder if anyone's ever gone down and investigated the Titanic in the summer. Like, I've absolutely heard that. And I'm fascinated with the Titanic. However, my opinion on that is like, gosh, no. No, this is probably won't be here in another 50 years, because it's disintegrating. And so I thought of that because I saw it in a post a few weeks ago and I was like, it really said that. So it depends on what the location is. Like, I'm trying to think of one I've been to that was, like the Whaley House is very in San Diego. Extremely old, but it's upkept very well. And I think that the tourism is what keeps it up. It keeps it up. And they get a lot of people that want to go in the Whaley House and investigate. And so that's one where I supported. I think they do. The owners, they're very like, please come. Yeah, Tawney, absolutely. Come on in. There's a place in Orange County here that I tried to investigate. And the owner said, no, first off, it's not haunted. I don't know why people say that. I don't believe in spirits. I was like, okay. And he's like, and it's run down. Because I want to say it was built like 1870 or something. And so that I support where I know he doesn't believe in it, but if it's that run down, I don't think people should go in there and make it even worse. So to answer your question, it's kind of like a mixed bag where I do support it. However, I do understand if there is a location, I would never push it. If there was somebody or owner that is just, if there was a place that just, it's like, no, I'm not going to disturb that or mess with that. So it just depends.
That's kind of how I feel.
Yeah.
Is there a paranormal person or a psychic medium in the world that you would just really, really love to meet? Other than Mr. Bagans.
Let me think. Paranormal person. Psychic medium. What's adorable is that Lisa Williams is my mentor, and I wanted to meet her. And not only did I get to meet her, I got to work with her personally. Yeah. So I was one of her master teachers, and she certified me. There's only it's not very many master teachers in the world certified by her. And so I'm one of them. And so so I tell people she's like one of my mentors. So her, and then also I like Kim Russo. I think she's really good. I used to watch The Haunting of, I came on like 10 years ago. And I thought her take was pretty interesting because she wasn't like an investigator with tools, but she was able to go into a property and it was never like negative. She was able to kind of find positivity, and that's rare. I don't see that a lot on shows, and I watched like every episode of that. So she'd be a really cool one to meet. Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah, Mr. Bagans. When it comes to Zak, I like his media persona in a way because you'll see it. I'm sure you've seen it. Like the paranormal community will be fighting sometimes and like on social media. He just will not contribute, and I love it. Like he doesn't really do interviews. If somebody's like trying to insult him, he doesn't respond. I'm like, that's how I want to be. I want to just focus on my passion and what I'm here to do. I'm not trying to involve myself in all the other stuff. Like, I don't think he does any conventions. He might have used to, but he doesn't do them anymore. He just focuses on the show and his investigating. That's all he focuses on. So I think I respect him in that sense. But yeah, those are the ones that come to mind right away.
Yeah, I've always heard, I know a lot of people with different connections with different paranormal personalities, and I've heard kind of a mixed bag, but for the most part, when he is not in front of the camera and when he's just out in the real world, that he's very genuinely kind is what I've heard.
Yeah.
And just a giant nerd, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Just a nerd that just focuses on that. I'm like,
I'm pro nerd. That's cool.
Same. Same.
Outside of the paranormal, what are your passions?
I love theater. I went to New York last. Yeah, I'm obsessed with Broadway. I went to New York. No, what was cool is I went to Canada in June to film something. And then I literally just took 2-3 days and detoured to New York City by myself, got a nice little hotel and just saw a whole bunch of shows. So that's something I love to do. It just makes me happy. So that's one. I love to travel. I have no issues traveling. I used to do it a lot for one of my jobs, and I just fell in love with going wherever. I'm like, send me wherever. I have a passport now. Let's see, what else do I like? My family. I see my family and I are pretty close. We all live here. So I see them pretty often. And is that it? Yeah, theater. I would say that's probably the number one.
Oh, one of these days I could talk to you all day long about, my husband and I are Broadway freakazoids.
What's the last show you saw?
Well, we saw Little Shop of Horrors at the Muni here in St. Louis, which is like a regional theater. A lot of Broadway peeps do it.
Nice. Mm-hmm.
It's been a couple of years since we've been to Broadway. I'm trying to think. The last thing we saw on Broadway was probably either Miss Saigon, which I love, or we saw Mean Girls on Broadway. Mm-hmm. I'm going to forget, but every time we go, every couple of years, we manage to go and see 2 or 3 shows. So
that's cool. Yeah, I live down the street from the Pantages Theater in Hollywood. So that's like our major theater in LA. And it's literally like a 10-minute walk. And so I think a few weeks ago, I saw Beetlejuice. And that was really good. I didn't expect to like it. I was like, the show's pretty awesome. And then within the next few weeks, I'll go and see Les Mis. The Tina musical was here. Like I got to see that one on Broadway. That was awesome. So, but yeah, I love anything theater.
What's the funniest sign you've ever received from spirit?
Okay. During COVID, one of my good friends and I went to Forest Lawn Cemetery here. That's another one that has a lot of celebrities. I think that's the Hollywood Hills one. And we went to the grave of Liberace. My friend's not a psychic. And he was like, see if you get any information. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, just see if you pick up anything like psychically or intuitively. And then I can't remember. That tells me how accurate it was because I don't speak French or whatever. And I got a French line and I said, I don't know, it was like blah, 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 blah. I said, that's creepy. I don't speak French. And he Googled it and it said something like, I want the boys. So yeah, I swear to God. And you know why it's such a good story? My friend who's with me, he's a skeptic. So he didn't believe in any of this, but he was like, wait, what? And I was like, I don't know French. And he's like, wait, no. He was like, this said, I have to ask him. It said like, I like the boys or I like the men or something silly, but it felt like it was a funny, like energetically, I'm just being funny. It didn't feel like it was being, I was like, oh my God, is he like joking? Wait, what is happening? So that's the first one that came to mind.
And Liberace, he had some ish. So
he did. I want to get the right line. And I'll ask my friend later. But it was a French saying about going out with lots of guys. It was like a French, but it was jokey, like a French saying. Like I was just like, oh, okay, he has jokes. It's like, and I know this is accurate because I don't speak French. And it was just really funny. We were both laughing, and he was like, "That's awesome." He's a skeptic. He's like, "I cannot believe he said something about men," and I was like, "Yeah, it was really funny." So yeah,
I would have loved that. That would have been awesome.
God, that was years ago. I can't wait to text him. Like, what did he say? What was that line? If I remember, I'll email you. What did he say? But yeah, it was funny.
Well, I'm glad we could pull up an old memory for you.
Yep, that was awesome.
What's your most treasured possession?
Oh, I'm just like thinking around. I'm like, what's my most treasured? I have so much crap. Let me think. Sorry for the delay.
You didn't know that this interview was going to involve tests.
I know. I'm like, what is I mean, it sounds dumb, but I'm going to say my car. I'm pretty obsessed with my car. It's the car I wanted. For years, I've just had like a car, but I was able to get the car I finally want. It's a big truck, and I love trucks. And then this might be a little super cheesy, but yesterday I have found my second favorite possession. This is a little Pee Wee Herman toy that he signed for me. Yeah, and I found this. I had it on my shelf, and I was like, big fan of Paul Reubens. I got to meet him back in 2017 at like a convention. He was very, very sweet to me. And he wrote, "Hi, Tawney, your pal Pee Wee." So I'm going to make sure, I'm going to keep this so close to me.
Oh my gosh. And you hear from, there were a number of celebrities and people that he reached out to so often and sent really awesome messages. And he apparently was such a kind person and got a big piece of my childhood. So I was kind of sad. Yeah,
he was really nice. I'm just glad to have that memory where my best friend, he went in ahead of me with his partner. And so I went in to meet Paul by myself. And I was just like, he was really, really sweet. And so, I always remember that. And so this today, I was like, this is going to be one of my things I'm going to keep forever. So
awesome. I'm glad we got to see that. Tawney, what's coming up for you? You are in kind of an exciting time in your life where things are happening and you're getting to do what you want. Mm-hmm. And I know there's some things that you might not be able to tell us, but some exciting things are happening.
Yeah, it's pretty cool because I want to make it very clear, I never sought any sort of media. That was never something I thought years ago, I'm going to be on Ghost Hunter. Never. And it's been within the last year or two where people seem to find interest in me because they have never met an African-American female paranormal researcher. And they're like, oh, this is new. And I'm like, yeah, it's genuine. It's absolutely genuine. And so, I was telling a friend, I was like, if this is the route that I'm supposed to take, then, and it allows me to do what I want to do, then by all means, and I'll take this route. And so that's kind of how it's been. And I'm on Tubi. There's 2 specials on Tubi. The first one is Scariest Places in America. That one aired, I want to say, in May. And that was pretty awesome. It lists the top 13 places, haunted places in America. And then there is Scariest Places in the World. And that one started streaming about 2 weeks ago. And that one's pretty awesome. Just some of the places, there were places that I was like, okay, where's that? I've never heard of that. And it caught me to start researching some of these places. But yeah, I would recommend check that out on Tubi. They're both streaming now. There is another project that will be coming out. This one will probably be on a larger platform. This will be airing in the fall, but I don't have a date yet. It's to basically let you know it's about just really terrifying paranormal stories, pretty terrifying to where the person doesn't understand why it's happening to them. And there are experts. There's only 3. I am one of them. And we are giving our opinion on what that is, what happened, and how can the person resolve the issue. And so, that will be for sure airing. And I do know for a fact that'll be airing in Canada on CTV Sci Fi, which is a major network there. And then it will be airing in America, but I do not know the network yet. They are finalizing that. So
somebody will grab it.
Yeah, that one will be seen bigger. So I'm excited about that one. And yeah, some of these stories, though, I remember studying the stories. I was like, whoa. I'm scared now. I was like, I have to talk new. So
turn on a few extra lights in the house.
Yeah, I'm so super excited for everyone to see this show because these stories are just hardcore real, and the people genuinely are I don't know why this was happening to me. And so, I'm excited about that.
Cool. And I did watch last night. I watched the Scariest Places in America on Tubi, and that was a good show.
That was great. Thank you very much. I was shocked at how much I was featured on that. I didn't expect that. There were other people, and I was like, oh.
You were, yeah.
Thank you, people. Thank you, Tubi. But no, they're both amazing. Everyone I've worked with has just been so amazing. And so we'll see if there's more opportunities that'll come up for me. There is, I am signed with a production company, a major production company, to see if something can be developed as well. And so I'm just kind of curious to see how that will probably happen more either towards the end of the year or next year. But yeah, it's weird. It's just doors are starting to open. And I'm like, you know what? Cool. It allows me to do what I love to do. Then take me for the ride. So yeah, I'm very blessed.
Well, congratulations to you. That's exciting. Go you.
Thank you very much.
And you're mainly on Instagram and TikTok, right?
Yeah, I am on Instagram. Feel free to follow me. Unfortunately, I'm private, but you can still follow me. What it is there's so many scammers that are trying to target me. It sucks. And so whenever I get a follow request, I literally like research the person to make sure they're real, and then I'll add them. But if I see they're a scammer, I just get rid of them.
Well, that's a good practice for anybody. Really.
It just sucks that I have to do that. I'm just like, that's why I only have a smaller amount, but please follow me. And then, my TikTok. I have lots of videos on there. Paranormal. I try to be silly on some of them involving paranormal, but then also a lot of historical information for paranormal locations. So follow me on any of those. And I'm on Twitter as well. However, I don't use it as much.
Understood. And so all those are at Intuitive Tawney.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And oh my gosh, you rock. Thank you for being such a ball of joy here. I only recently, came back from hiatus. And so this is just another one of those. I'm like, yay, I'm glad I'm back. Yeah.
Thank you so much. This is awesome. I really appreciate you having me.
For show notes, including links to anything we may have mentioned in this episode, visit bigseance.com. And you can continue the discussion and hang out with a great community of paranerds by joining us in the Big Seance Parlor on Facebook. Want to hear your voice in a future episode? Go to bigseance.com/feedback to learn how. Thank you so much for listening. Unfortunately, it's time to blow the candles out, but we'll see you and light them again next time. Thank you to the following super paranerds who support the show at patreon.com/bigseance: Michael Henson, Daryl, Anne-Marie Sullivan, Natalie N., Kim Robb, Josiel Lorenzo, and Susan Davey. My supporters at the Parlor guest level, who can be found at bigseance.com/parlorguests, are Allie of Hocus Pocus Collector, Ann Rekovich from ozparatech.com, Dina DeCastro of Dina DeCastro Astrology, Janae Michaels from Grey House Tarot and Farm Artifacts, Amy Park Gedicke of amyparkg.com, Lonnie Scott from weirdwebradio.com, Lana and John of Carbon Lilies, Midge Munster from midgemunster.com, Diane Razmataz, Tracy King, Andrew Watson, Christine Rath Selhe, Mindy Kentop, Hope Battaglia, Casson Bailey, Melissa Armour, Bruce Williams, Christopher Kohler, and Jim Budd. And I currently have 5 awesome listeners who support the show at the $10 level. And guess what? The $10 level isn't really even a thing. Those awesome paranerds are Glenna Becker, Steve Skinner, James Wilfong, and Norman and Linda Keller. And the amazing Jean Marie supports my work by also creating her own level as well, $20. Thank you all. See you next week, because Adam Berry will be back here in the parlor.